guys, Time here. We're back for reading fanfiction, and we're going to read chapter 11, or expected, because, there are, over 100 chapters of this story. Also, I would like to mention, because I feel like I don't think I've ever mentioned this before, and I got a comment from one of the authors about this, but, I did not write this. Every fanfic I've read, I've not written. If I have, I would say, but I didn't say, so yeah. But yeah, this story fanfic is written by, oh god, what's her name? Arctic Vulpix, I think that's her name. Hold on, let me check, because I know it's Arctic something. Arctic Vulpix, yeah, I was right. Okay, so the chapters we've been reading have been written by her, and then later on, Corona Pax, who actually reviewed the previous chapter, actually helps in as well. She's a co-writer, I guess. Or they co-writer, sorry. They. I don't know if she's she or he, whatever. But, yeah. They help out, too, so. But for now, this is just Arctic Vulpix stuff, okay? So, they wrote this. And I didn't, okay? I just want to clear that up, so there's no confusion. This is not mine. I don't own anything. I did not write this. I take no claim whatsoever. I'm just here to read the story, which I enjoy. And this chapter is actually going to be quite interesting because I took a quick look what it is because I didn't know it was another day thing like the previous times. But no, we're going straight on to night 6. So let's see if Ruby can survive 5 homicidal ghosts. Is that the word I'm looking for? Vengeful ghosts. So, yeah. Anyway, if you're a little confused what happened in the last chapter, basically, we found out why the animatronics killed the night guards. Because the ghosts. Because the kid's ghost that died so long ago want the place closed down. I think that's what. I'll be honest, I don't know if that's what it says. This is just me remembering what I've read from this. So. But, spoiler, that was not mentioned. I think it was. No, it was. Okay, no spoilers, it's fine. Okay, so. With all that out of the way, before I get started, if you want to follow along with chapter 11, link to the chapter will be in the description below of just like it is of every single video. There's also a playlist as well, which won't be linked because I'm lazy and I maybe forget, maybe not, I don't know. But it won't be in there, but you can check on go on my channel, go playlist, it will definitely be there. So, yeah. So if you want to check out the other chapters, go ahead. Links to those chapters will be in the description. But for now, let's get started on chapter 11, night 6. Let's see how Ruby does against 5 possessed animatronics. I guess 4 possessed animatronics and a possessed ghost. Let's see how that works out. Chapter 11, night 6. Ruby glared up at the building, feeling her muscles tense up in preparation for the night. Things were getting real tonight. She felt anger flare through her body again. Those ghost brats thought that they could mess with her butts? Not a chance. A growl slipped out from between her clenched teeth as she hauled her bag up onto her shoulder. It was time to break out the big guns. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, these ghosts are going to regret it. And I'm pretty sure we should maybe feel sorry for the ghosts, but we're not going to feel sorry for the ghosts at all, because they're killing people. Ruby's just doing pranking. Maybe people will get hurt, but they won't die. So, it's not serious, so it's fine. Anyway. A sadistic smile broke across her face. They weren't going to know what hit them. She quickly moved through the halls to the office to grab the tablet. As she walked, she noticed that there was an odd feel to the air. It was chilly almost, even though it was a warm night. She frowned. So the brats were making their presence known? Fine, but some temperature drop wasn't going to chase her off. Hell yeah, it's not. It's Ruby. She's a badass. She's probably one of few, maybe. I don't want to say few just in case that's not true, but I don't know. She's one of the few, I guess, OCs that I remember, like off the top of my head. Like when I think of OCs that other people have created, she is one of them because I love her so much. So she's awesome, and this is why. Anyway, running through the hallways and rooms, she set up her traps, constantly checking the time. She'd arrive early to set up so she could make the night extra special. She smirked as she looked over her work. Perfect. Sitting down in the main dining room, she sat against the wall and waited for the clock to hit 12. As it did, an ominous feeling washed through the entire pizzeria. Ruby shivered, even as she rolled her eyes. Apparently the ghost had a flair for the dramatics. Well then, show me what you've got, she muttered as she turned the tablet on. Bonnie was off the stage. She flipped through the cameras, checking Pirate Cove as well, getting the feeling that ignoring the camera might be a bad idea this time. Suddenly, she stopped before banging her head against the wall. So, can I blame the ghost for Bonnie's tendency to go into the closet? Oh God, it's the ghost's fault that Bonnie's in the closet. Of course it is. Bonnie wants to get out of the closet, but the ghost was like, "No, you're staying in the closet." And yes, I did make that joke. She muttered, fighting a smile. The rabbit animatronic was back in the closet, and it actually sent a feeling of nostalgia through her. She'd kept him too busy after the first couple of nights to go back to the closet. Yeah, she's helping me get out the closet. I've got to stop making these jokes. I'm sorry. It's my favorite joke. I love doing this. Like, it's like an opportunity. And I've got to stop cutting out this. Like, we're barely making a dent in this chapter. Okay. Still chuckling, she paused when she heard noises from the kitchen. Boy, they're moving quickly, she grinned, and waited expectantly. Yeah, that's the word. Right on time, an explosion echoed through the building, followed by a shriek. Guess they learned nothing from the bot's previous experience with the kitchen, she giggled. She could almost imagine the pepperoni delight that would be covering the chicken now. Hopefully she found the little note that Ruby had left at music. A furious, wordless shriek followed what that thought, and her grin widened. Guess my wording wasn't appreciated, or maybe the floating pile of ecto-goo part was too much. She flickered through the cameras again, this time skipping Pirate Cove. Maya was on the other side of the building, and Freddy had yet to move. This was the perfect time to deal with the possessed ghost bear. She paused. How did a ghost bear get possessed anyway? Weren't they already possessing the suits? Maybe it was some kind of double session. Ocean shrugged and got up. That's right, Ruby. Don't think about it. Just move on. Just hope I don't scare the poor suit any more than I already have, she mumbled as she headed out into the hall. 10 minutes later, she entered the parts and services room, and closed the door behind her. Glancing around, she scanned the room. Sure, the endoskeletons were creepy, but otherwise it was safe at the moment. She spent another 5 minutes preparing before she settled down with her back to the door. She checked the cameras again before she started looking rapidly between Goldie's poster and the kitchen. She kept her eyes focused on the poster and counted silently in her head. She was going to have to be fast. Eventually, when she hit 321, her eyes registered a change in the picture and she dodged to the side. Simultaneously, Goldie appeared and pounced for her. Ruby noticed that the bear's eyes were red instead of the white dots from before, but had to dodge another swipe before she could get a good look. Don't know the bear all that well, but still kind of pissed with what you're doing, so you're gonna have to stay out of my way, brat. Ruby snarled as she held up her weapon of choice. It was so much easier when they didn't take note of their surroundings. She slammed the butt of the fire extinguisher into the bear's stomach and jammed the release lever. The possessed suit flew backwards and hit the far wall. Perfect landing, and the covering foam was just a bonus. Growling at her, the bear tried to stand, but to its surprise found itself crumbling back to the ground. Ah, sorry about that, Ruby grinned as she walked closer, hands in her pocket. Did some research, and circle of salt. Someone's a fan of Supernatural. Well done. She gestured at the circle and enjoyed the dawning horror on the suit's face. Yeah, you're not going anywhere until I let you go. None of the bots even get near this room with me out and about, and well, I'm only letting you go after my shift. Don't worry though, it's not enough to do permanent damage, but I mixed in some special herbs just to give it a boost, so you're really not going anywhere. She pulled her bag back onto her shoulder, ignoring the look of hate the suit was shooting her. One down. She grinned sinisterly back at her printer. 4 to go. There were a couple of close calls after she left the parts in the service room, and her continued absence had made the bots agitated. Freddy was now out as well, while Foxy seemed on the verge of sprinting out of Pirate's Cove. Right after heading back into the game, Ruby had run into Bonnie, who had made a grab for her, fingers just barely missing her arm, as she spun out of the way and smashed the side of his head with her bat. The robot stumbled slightly before turning to glare at her. She had enough time to pull out her next weapon, though. The modified paintball gun was one of her favorites, as it fired many glitter bombs at a machine gun speed. Not gonna question it, but okay. She really couldn't help the excited cackle that erupted from her throat as the bot stumbled and fled from the assault. By the time he was out of range, he was covered from head to toe in a sticky, glittery substance. Ruby paused for a moment, for an evil grin crept across her face. You know, you really remind me of a certain sparkly vampire from a certain movie looking like that. Okay, why does everyone have to make fun of Twilight? I mean, okay, I'm not obsessed as much as I was as a kid, but my god. Okay. She giggled before fleeing down the hall to the nearest vent. She ran into Chica next, who was still running on fury from the last trap. Chica managed to snag her by the jacket and jerk her backwards when she tried to run. Gotcha! A childish voice sounded very wrong coming from the robot. Ruby ignored it and instead slammed the water balloon into the bot's face. The chicken went rigid and sparks flew. The water wouldn't do any serious damage, but it would leave her locked up in that position for a bit while that shock worked its way out of her system. Ruby wriggled her way out of her jacket and took off down the corridor after taking a moment to admire the pizza-covered bot. Foxy, she discovered, was far more difficult to avoid. When he eventually came out, she spent most of her time sprinting away from him, not having enough time to pull out a weapon. She got away the first couple times he found her by managing to get him with a water balloon the first time, leading him over a tripwire that dumped glitter bombs on his head the second, and hitting him with her water gun. Of course it was modified. When she was lucky enough to have it out already the third time. The fourth time she ran out of luck and sprinted down the hall, swearing at her head as she drank seething breaths into her lungs. He was fast and sneaky. Shit was playing for her head on a loop as she barely kept ahead of the animatronics. He was gaining, though. Finally, she spotted a vent and made a dive for it. She felt Foxy's claws swipe across her back, though, tearing through the thin fabric of her t-shirt and cutting into her skin. Gritting her teeth against the burning sensation flaring across her back, she moved further into the vent as Foxy snarled in frustration. On the other side of the vent, she slumped with her shoulder against the wall and sat there panting and trying to regain her breath. It felt like her bat was on fire, but she ignored it and forced herself to her feet. She could already hear Bonnie approaching after all. No time to rest. But she was really starting to appreciate the fact that Foxy hadn't participated in the hunting game all week. She might really be dead if he had. Her second encounter with the rabbit ended with him getting a bucket of glow-in-the-dark paint dropped on his head when he stumbled into another one of her tripwire traps after she threw marbles on the floor in front of him. She'd been leading into the trap initially when he managed to get a lucky swipe in, so she dropped the marbles and giggled while he stumbled back. Now dripping with orange, glow-in-the-dark paint, he glared at her as he struggled to stand but kept slipping on the marbles again. Guess I'll see you coming from a mile away now, huh? She laughed breathlessly as the chuckles pulled at her definitely bruised ribs. Bonnie had a mean backhand. Ruby managed to avoid Chica again by diving into a vent just in time, and when the chicken stuck her head into the vent in frustration, she pulled in her earplugs and set off the air horn right next to Chica's head. She yanked her head out very quickly after that. Ruby had been lucky with Freddy most of the night, but inevitably ran into him again around 4 o'clock. He growled at her as he pounced, and Ruby barely dodged. "Looks like the others already got a few good hits on you," he circled at her, and she frowned. Hearing such a vindictive statement might have sounded right coming from her, but definitely not the gentlemanly bear. "Oh, shut up," she groaned. "I'm still alive, aren't I?" Freddy, or whatever the brat possessing him, snarled at that and made another grab for her. He changed his name at the last second, compensating for her dodge, and suddenly he had her right wrist in an iron grip. She hissed as the grip tightened and the bear yanked her up into the air, clear off her feet. "I'm going to enjoy this," he chuckled darkly. "Not really," she bit out before smirking. "I'm left-handed." Before those words sank in, her left hand quickly come up and fired a few mini glitter bombs at point close range. Yikes. I would say poor Freddy, but that's not Freddy, and he deserves it. He was definitely going to have a headache in the morning. He screamed in surprise, letting go of her to stumble back. She wasted no time in hitting him with a few more and getting him in the gut with her baseball bat. As he tried to recover, she raced past him, adrenaline speeding her on. When she was far enough away, she inspected herself. A couple more bruises from banging into things while she dodged, cut on her cheek from a really close hole, and yep, sprained wrist. She flinched when she tried to rotate her right wrist, and sighed. Well, at least it wasn't her dominant hand. Quickly checking the cameras while she caught her breath, she groaned. "Stupid bean, you stupid closet, stupid rabbit," she muttered as she hauled herself up off the ground to continue. In other words, Bonnie's bed had gone back into the closet again. She got lucky for most of the time after that, avoiding them in time and finding vents quickly. Of course, they weren't spared, though. There was more glitter and paint on all of them now that there was in a craft store. She was running on adrenaline, she'd admit, and the rush making her a little giddy and hysterical at times, but still keeping her alive. It also dulled the pain from the injuries for the most part. As a bonus, she paused to catch her breath again in the girl's bathroom and caught sight of herself in the mirror. Well, she did look like a bit of a mess. Her hair had come loose from its ponytail and hung wild around her flushed face. The cut on her cheek was longer than she initially thought, and she had smeared blood down her cheek. She could feel her back burning from her tangle with Foxy, as sweat stung the cuts. Her ribs still ached from Bunny. She had gotten a swipe down her left upper arm at some point. Her wrist throbbed and her legs were burning. "They weren't kidding when they said the 6th knife was hard," she murmured, watching as her eyes sparkled with excitement in the mirror. "But that's always been just how I like it." As she left the bar, she barely avoided Bonnie's attack and skidded out of the way, right into a wall. Adrenaline made your reactions faster than your brain sometimes. She rubbed the side of her head where it had slammed into the wall when suddenly she was grabbed by the front of her shirt and lifted off the ground, only to be slammed down again. She hissed as pressure was put on the cuts, and it took a moment for her vision to clear. Bonnie was glaring at her, but a red light glowed from his eyes instead of white, like Goldie's. She hadn't been able to get a good look at any of the robots with them trying to kill her yet. "Got you," he snarled. She grinned back at him. "Aw, getting frustrated that the teenager is getting the best of you experienced killers?" she teased, a dark tone hiding just below the surface of her voice. He growled and slammed her again. "You think you're so smart, don't you?" "Nope," she grinned again after she got her breath back. "I know I'm smart. Smarter than you, at least. I passed primary school, after all." "Wait, isn't she American? Shouldn't that be elementary?" "I don't know, we'll just go along with it, whatever." It was a low blow, but Ruby was too pissed off with these brats to care. The rabbit snarled and tightened his grip on her shirt. "And you know, at least I know what stranger danger is." She dropped the smile and snapped at him. The rabbit was inches away from her face, and for a moment she wondered if he was going to bite her. Stuffing you in the suit is going to be a lot of fun, he growled menacingly. Ruby threw back her head and laughed. Maybe she had a concussion from a wall hitting? Probably. I'm not a doctor, I don't know. You still think you can beat me? She giggled. Look at what happened today. I'm a freaking teenager, and I've been running circles around you murderous spirits. The worst I got is a sprained wrist and some cuts. You look like a sparkly mess and oh so not threatening. She giggled and he slammed her hard on the wall. Oh, and by the way, Ghost Sprat, she managed as she dragged air to her lungs again. What time is it? The animatronic paused, and his eyes widened just before the chime signaling the end of her shift went off. Childish cries of rage echoed through the building. And don't mess with my bots again, Ruby snapped as the possessed robot glared at her. Next time, I won't go so easy on you. She lifted her feet and kicked him away from her, landing on her butt on the ground. The ghost let out one more angry growl before there was a flash of light and Bonnie crumpled to the ground. Ruby leaned against the wall as she felt the adrenaline finally leaving her system. The aches and pains returned full force, and she gritted her teeth as she slowly pushed herself more upright. Her eyes drifted over to the rabbit animatronic, and she felt a flicker of worry, but she pushed that down as she dragged the tablet from her bag that had fallen on the floor nearby. She carried down the hallway near the office. Friday, out cold in the dining room, Foxy face planted near Pirate's Cove. She winced. Looked like they were going to be out for a while. Parts of the service room? Goldie looked around the room in utter confusion. Ruby sighed and put the tablet back in the bag. She crawled over to Bonnie and poked his cheek after a moment. The rabbit animatronic just moaned. A headache, he mumbled and shifted away from the poking finger. Yeah, sorry about that, Cottontail. She smiled slightly, satisfied that he was just recovering from the possession, and rather by counters with Ruby's baseball bat. She forced herself up and stumbled in the direction of the trapped ghost bear. On the way, she came across Foxy, who seemed to be snoring softly, and she couldn't help the giggle that escaped her mouth. She let him be, though, and eventually made it to the room. Feeling the exhaustion down to her bones, she shoved the door open and entered the room, barely stifling a yawn. Goldie jumped and shocked at her sudden entrance, and she smiled apologetically at her. Sorry about the salt. Can't be out the worst of it, though. Everyone else is unconscious. Goldie seemed to look relieved after she registered that it was Ruby in the room, though. I didn't get you! She exclaimed happily. Ruby chuckled. Of course not. But I sure got them. As the security guard moved to release the bear, concern flickered across the suit's features. You got hurt, the golden bear mumbled. Ruby looked up in surprise. Nothing too bad, she shrugged. Just a couple of close calls. This being the first time she actually spoke to the skittish bear, and not yelled in adrenaline-fueled fury, Ruby felt curiosity pushed the exhaustion aside for a moment. So, you're a ghost bear. Gotta say, I like you more than the other resident ghosts. She smirked as she started to clean up the salt. Yeah, Goldie mumbled as she began to float again once she was released. You're not freaked out? The question was asked softly. Ruby looked up in surprise again. Not really. This place is full of surprises, and I think I got the freaked out part out of the way the first time we met. Goldie flushed in embarrassment. Sorry. It was kind of cute, actually, Ruby decided. The bear was clearly shy around newcomers. Well, then again, she didn't really get much contact with anyone besides the bots and the ghosts. No problem. I should actually apologize, though. Went a little overboard at my reaction there. I don't react well to shocks like that. Ruby rubbed the back of her head sheepishly. Goldie couldn't help a slight chuckle. No kidding. She frowned, though, and winced, her hand going to her stomach, as she seemed to realize for the first time that she was covered in foam. Sorry about the fire extinguisher, too, Ruby chuckled guiltily. After a moment, Goldie waved it off. I have a feeling the others got the worst of it. Ruby nodded. Yeah, pass along my apologies with you. I'm exhausted and I doubt I'm gonna make it home in this state. So I'll go catch a nap in the staff room for a bit. She paused. That might last all day. You guys weren't kidding. That was pretty tough. Chuckling to herself, she waved and headed off in the direction of the staff room. Goldie watched her go, wondering about the spark of excitement she still saw in the exhausted girl's eyes. And that's the end of chapter 11, and the end of the first Five Nights at Freddy's game. Woo! So, we got all of that out of the way. That was so good. Ruby did it. She's the best, and this is why she's my favorite OC character ever, or one of them, I guess. I don't know. No other name comes to mind, but I'm sure there are other OC characters that I like. But Ruby's the one that mostly comes to mind. But yeah, I love her. I thought she did a great job. I know the next couple of chapters are probably going to be like brief moments, which will be fun to read when we get to them, before we finally get to FNAF 2, because this story goes through all the games with this, so. Oh, yeah. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little read through. If you did, leave a like, be sure to subscribe, comment down below if you have any other fanfics you want me to read. Or if you want me to read the other ones, I've got a Five Nights at Harry's one, which was FNAF and Harry Potter, and I've also started reading what's it called? Garrett's Odyssey, which is a League of Legends fanfic, which is super long, and I'll have to, if I'm gonna read it, the chapters are gonna split in parts, so yeah, because each chapter is ridiculously long. So yeah. Or is there any other story you want me to read? Please make sure it's short, because yeah. Anyway, if you want to read the rest of this fanfic yourself, or continue reading, link to this. You can keep going. There is a link in the description below of the chapter, which I said at the beginning. But yeah. Anyway, also be sure to follow me on Twitter. Link to that is also in the description of every single video, and I'll see you guys next Friday with a new video.